Hi everyone, the following video is a recording of our 61st Artist Be Back AMA session. This session was hosted by Mike Schmidt and Sarah Lindsay and held in the MetaJungle Discord on January 12th. In this session, our hosts reviewed and gave feedback on 7 different NFT collections and editions featuring all different types of NFT photography. We want to thank all of the artists who submitted their work for review, everyone that was able to attend, as well as our hosts for taking the time and reviewing these different collections. We hope you find it as useful as we did. And with that, let's go on ahead and dive into it.
I have my screen being shared, so you guys can check it out through me now. If you guys see my screen shared, I've pulled up the first collection, which is Black and White Memories, and it's by Maurizio Grandi. And we'll take a look. You guys see my screen?
Yep.
Very cool. All right, cool. So projects minted on Foundation. Banner looks pretty good to me. I like the banner. It is missing the you could add that little square piece, like the photo. That's like the kind of like the introductory piece. That's missing there. So a collection of 9. None have sold yet. Floor price is 0.25. Let me see if there's a reserve price. No, it's the same across the board. So there is no buy now. It's just a reserve price. It's 0.25. Let's go into the description. So I capture a path of light in the frame that tells the truth that I see in that image. And to do this, I intervene after taking the shot with a special development process that enables me to style the black and whites freehand, as though I was carving the photo. Once I've completed my work, it can never be reproduced in the same way. My photos represent my world, and in my world, reality passes through my memories. I really like the artist statement. I think like it gives us a little idea into the artist's creative process. It's a bit poetic. It doesn't give us like it's not trying to tell us how to feel or how to look at the imagery. I love the writing about how he goes in and stylizes the photographs. It's kind of like the old, how in the film days people used to dodge and burn on the images, and they used to there was editing back then as well, and so that part of the editing was part of the artist's creative outlook as to how they wanted the image to be in the end. So this is interesting, and he writes. As though I'm carving the photo. I really like that. So for me, this is a really cool artist statement it's not too long, it's not too short, and it just kind of like gives us an idea of like what we're going to be looking at, and I really like that. So at first glance, looking at the collection, when I first opened up the collection, I was like, oh wow, this is really cohesive. At first, it was really cohesive, and what made me feel it's very cohesive was the style of editing, the tonality, the black and white style of editing is very cohesive in that regard. With that being said, I believe there needs to be more things to be cohesive throughout a collection, such as I guess a narrative storytelling and the types of photography. So it feels a bit like there's different types of photography here between some minimalism, some cityscape, some landscape, and then some maybe lifestyle or something. So let's dive into some of the images. I want to start with I think one that was most intriguing to me, which is Time Lounge. I feel like this one really kind of hit on the minimalism aspect of it, and he doesn't say the artist doesn't say that the work is about minimalism, but I felt it in this image, and it really opened up my imagination with the you have this ladder in the sand, and it's leading up to the beach here, and you have this sign, and I believe he says in the description that the sign just says sea, um, and I guess maybe it's in another language, but and you see the waves, and then you just see kind of like this little table, like maybe it's this little like picnic table and just 2 chairs, and it's during the winter, so it's I don't know, it opens up to my imagination to like why are these people there in the winter? Is it cold here in the winter? where are they now? And it's interesting that they climb a ladder to get up onto the beach. So that shot to me, held my attention. And let's see. So, another shot I thought was very interesting was shadows for working with minimalism and geometry. I do love all the circular shapes from the circle inside of the circle and the circles on the outside, and then the lines that lead to the circle. And then the same thing with the umbrellas. You have this line that leads into this center circle area where you can put down your phone and stuff, and then it leads into kind of another circular aspect, which is the actual umbrella on top. So geometry and stuff is cool in this. It sort of creates this leading line, but it doesn't really lead out into anything. It could be interesting if it led into something, but I'm not completely sure that it has to. So those two really stood out to me. Another one, this father and son is nice. I do like the extended shadows in images, how that happens with the wider angle lens, or you don't even actually you don't even need a wider angle lens for that to happen. The shadows are always larger than life than the people are. Um, in some of the images, though, I don't know if I struggle to want to have more detail in certain areas, like if I would want to have more detail in the building back here, or if the silhouette is enough on its own. I also wonder. I also struggle between my eye going to this the sun up here, and then the subject down here. In situations with silhouettes like this, to have less of that struggle, like usually if the sun is coming and backlighting the silhouette, then they sort of become this one piece. But I did enjoy the aspect of this, the son holding the father's wrist here, and they're walking through, and I think the composition is really nice. But some of the other ones I could go through, and you could say that the three of those are minimalism. I mean, I guess the father son feels a little bit more street, but then when we have images like sunset, I feel like this is getting a little more into like landscape territory. So this feels a bit like a landscape. Then we jump to an image like, let's say, let's see this one here, the skier, which is like more of a lifestyle. So I feel like we have a lot of different genres in here, and so I don't know that just the specific tonality and monochromatic can bring the collection together to be completely cohesive. I mean, black and white sure helps do that, but I don't think it's like the end result of creating a cohesive body. So in this image for me, like it took me a little while before I saw the skier down here coming through. And I just think that there's just some of these blacks have just been punched to a point of like being so black. And, I understand the whole battle between light and shadow, and having really high highlights and really dark blacks really brings a viewer in, and it's really kind of like awe-inspiring and shocking on the eyes to see that level of contrast. But we lose a lot of details when we do that. We lose details in the sky, skies get blown out, and we lose details in certain areas of this mountain that I would really love to see. And so with that being said, that's kind of just like my first glance at it. Uh, Sarah, you're more of a landscape photographer than me. So like, there's some landscape stuff in here. There's some geometrical, which seems like minimalism in here. How do you feel like overall looking at the collection? Like based off of what I said, do you feel that it feels like a little outside of being cohesive because of some of those things? Do you have a different opinion?
No, I pretty much agree with what you're saying. So it really all like everything looks good, the price is good, the grammar is good, the description, all of that, the banner, the idea behind the collection. I agree. For me, it's now simply a case of cleaning up like your skill with photography. Kind of as Mike was pointing out, there's some of these really cool images in here where things are clean, simple, and you can understand the image, and then there's a few other ones that are quite that can have a little bit too much mess in it for me. And as a landscape photographer, the sky, even though we can't control what the sky is, you can definitely shoot around it. And when there's just too much white, if you can go back, oh, there's a one that stands out to me so strong.
Was
That
it this one here? The
Yes,
skier,
that one.
yeah. Okay, yeah, me too.
So like there's just too much white, and when you really can understand how powerful white is, we're always drawn to white in an image. So if you don't really control the mess that's going on in the scene and compose around it, your whole image is just going to get lost. And I agree with Mike. I understand your extreme contrast in your black and white work, and it's great, and I encourage you to stay on that path, but this image is a little bit overdone with that contrast. And then, like Mike said, you lost all this detail in the black, and then the white is just kind of screaming at you. So it's an image that pulls all your attention away from the other ones, which are much stronger.
Well said. Exactly how I feel. And then, so what is an image like that? What are the images that you think are like some of the stronger ones in here?
The one that used with the ladder,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the strongest one. And do you see
Same.
how like, the sky, do we see like if you compare it to the other one, the sky is so much different. Like it's not messy, it's not distracting, it's not taking you away. Do you see how like where the chairs are, the ladder leads up, it's just this slight bit of white. The sand is a little bit intense in terms of contrast and light, but the ladder leads you up to that nice little bit of white in the middle of the scene, and there's nothing else that is taking away from that. So this is a good example of how you can use whites in an image to draw your eye where you want it to be.
Yeah, without it being like too white, without punching them to a certain level. But yeah, the
Love the
time
sky in
lounge.
this one. The sky. I love the light in the sky in this one. I think it looks really good.
It does. It does. It's not overdone. And the time lounge one, it brings more to my imagination that I could fill in too. It's interesting. So it's like different types of photos. And so like you're a landscape photographer. So like I looked at this one, and for me it was hard for me to find outside of like editing, it was just kind of hard for me to find the central subject in this. So like how would you go about like making a landscape like this? I mean, maybe you get lower and there's foreground that kind of leads into something, or how does that work?
There's a lot of mist going on. I also like since it's black, I can't really understand the light either, so I'm even wondering. And it most likely is one shot and it is real, but if it looks like in the foreground and like where the trees are in those hills, it looks like the light is coming in from the side to the left, like kind of painting the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm trying to see where the shadows go. So there's obviously a lot going on, and I'm like, what am I looking at? And then in the sky, we have the mountain is backlit, so it's just like what's actually going on. Yeah, I just question if it's real, like or if that sky was dropped into the back or something. I just feel the light is a little bit different, coming in different directions. So yeah, this as a landscape photographer, I feel like you're trying to go for some layers here, but it's just too much. So
Yeah.
it's about like trying to focus on like the staying with that minimalistic of that one shot where you have the ladder leading up into the scene. Keep that mindset when you're shooting, like minimal. So pick a subject in your image and focus on it.
Yeah, like this has layers, right? This has minimal layers. Not necessarily that it leads into anything, but like the sky looks great in this one. The editing is really well done in this. Like the sand doesn't feel like it has too much contrast, and I feel like it has those beautiful lines. There's a lots of geometry. So like what I'm liking from this photographer is the black and white editing when it's well done, and also like the way that this photographer sees like minimalistic scenes in geometry and such. And I think there's just I think it's just a curational thing here, where like maybe they have more work that's like Time Lounge, or or some of the other minimal ones that would fit in here um, better than this image, for instance, as well. Like it's kind of it has a nice mood, but it's like I don't again really know what the central subject is on this. Like it's kind of hard for me to define that central subject. I mean, if there was like this tower that was coming up out here in out of a mist or something, then it would make sense that these layers were like leading me into that. But they're sort of just leading me into a fogged sky. And then, a lot of these blacks here are lost, which, I don't mind if blacks are fully black, but if they create sort of like blobs of an area that's just kind of has missing information, that's something for me that it's hard for me to to go along with that level of contrast, to lose that detail. So it would have to be for me like intentional, like as to why we're going to lose that amount of detail in that area. Yeah, but it does feel a bit of like a mix. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
No, I feel the same. I think that did we check the pieces just to look at like the properties and make sure the right sort of info is in each
Yeah,
piece?
we're gonna look at that, and then we have some questions to look at too. So this piece, the city. Let's take a look. So for some of them, the description just says like the year and where it was, like a Bologna, Italy. So I think they could probably work a bit in the description of the images, like maybe talking about like why black and white, why high contrast, why geometry, minimalism, something
More
like that.
info.
I don't know.
More
Yeah, some more information, because collectors like that. There's some tags down here, photo black and white, landscape photography, landscape. I don't know if I would consider this landscape though. This is more. I feel like this is more like minimalism, geometry,
I feel
and potentially cityscape.
this is like cityscape photography.
Yeah, cityscape. Let's take a look at some of the other ones, because I do think some of the other ones might have had. Like, I think this had a description. This one. No, this one's Bologna, Italy. Go to Time Lounge had a description.
Oh, okay. I feel like
Yeah,
people can definitely put what they want in descriptions, but it's just maybe important to know what the general audience gravitates towards. And I do feel that is details about images and creating things. You can never have enough details, so don't ever think that you can't.
title's great though. Like it's like Time Lounge. Like it's like it doesn't, because some titles you see some people will title say like ladder leading up to the beach, and it's like like a lot of those titles are kind of just telling me something that I can figure out on my own just by looking at the picture. It's a very simple thing, but like Time Lounge makes me want to think like what it makes me want to think about time. Is the area is a lounge, like where is this, like it's an interesting title. So it says description: this shot was taken on the beach in winter, with the bathing establishments shut, but there were these two deck chairs, a table, a ladder, and a sign that read "C." Nothing else all around. I was struck by this scene. It was surreal in itself, so all I could do was to take a photo. I believe many stories are embedded into this image, but may each one find its own. And I like that description too. I think the description is great. Like it's sort of like he, tells us that like he's on this beach and he found something surreal because like it's the winter, and these chairs are there and this table's there, and there's just no one around, and it's and that that the stories are, there's many stories embedded in this image, and each will find their own. And I think that's true. I think different people will find different stories in this. So I do think the description is well done here. There's tags. I don't. Can you add properties on Foundation without doing it through Manifold, Sarah? Do you know? I haven't minted much on Foundation in a while.
I'm honestly not sure. I haven't either. So whatever this, like if this person has not used Manifold to mint, you cannot go back in and make any of these changes on your pieces. But for the next collection or the next time that you do something, you will have this new knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I would like to read read some of the questions here from the artist, because one of them is kind of concerning to me. Well, the first one we already went over, the opinion of the quality of the work, but this next one is concerning to me. So it says, I published my black and white memories collection on Foundation, Unknown Origin, and OpenSea at the same time. Oh, at the same reserve price, 0.25 ETH. This is because I think that the artist himself must be the platform. I agree with that part. The artist himself is more important than the platform that they're on. I 100% agree with that. The auction determines the real market value of a work, and therefore it's right to start with the same reserve price for works that are part of the same collection or have the same stylistic figure. This way of proceeding over time also favors the secondary market. I'd like to know what you think. So what I think, first of all, is I'm confused. You put this, from what I can understand from this, is that you put the same collection on 3 different platforms. So are these one of one? And if they are one of one, then what if somebody buys Time Lounge on Foundation, and they also someone else buys it on known origin? Then it's no longer a one of one. Then 2 people own it from 2 different platforms. So there's missing information here in the description. And first of all, if you have the same work listed on different platforms, I would say that like you have to have the honesty to put this into the descriptions. I mean, you have to be honest about putting it in the description and stuff here, because that's definitely something that a collector should know. And a collector would not know that. They would just buy one of these. I only know this because this questions are submitted for the AMA, and so yeah, I find that to be a problem because having them on multiple platforms is counterintuitive to what we're trying to do as far as provenance goes, and maintaining integrity and a trustless system on the blockchain. So with that, Sarah, how do you feel?
I agree. And I think if you want to, I don't know if this will sound a little bit too harsh, but I feel if you want to be in this world and you want to sell your work, then you need to spend the time learning about it and learning about collectors. And because, like, yeah, if you're putting this on multiple platforms, you're being dishonest. And I'm not saying you're doing that on purpose, but you probably should maybe spend a little bit of time learning about art collecting and what's proper and what the majority of people are doing, because just not being honest or stating clearly what you're doing only it doesn't really help the space at all. It just makes people less likely to trust others, and that's not what we need. So definitely spend some time learning about art collecting in this world.
Absolutely, and I would the next step would be like see they have it on Foundation, Unknown Origin, and OpenSea. I'd probably no, I would take it off of OpenSea first of all, because OpenSea is lazy minting, so it won't cost you anything. I would remove that one immediately. And then Known Origin is just it's not really a big platform, and I just I don't think there's a lot of traffic there. I would remove a Known Origin. I mean, this is just my opinion, and I would stick with Foundation, since Foundation, you're gonna have to pay money to remove from here anyway, and it's probably more expensive than every other. And I just think Foundation's a better option than Known Origin. I mean, is that kind of along the lines of what you do, Sarah?
Yes. So I think, yeah, it's just you need to go back and learn a little bit about collecting here. And then obviously this is a great place to do it because we're telling you exactly how it is. So I do hope you're either I haven't checked the chat, but either in the chat or you watch like the replay of this. And it's all just to help you move forward.
Yeah, they're going to be watching the replay. Actually, they weren't able to make it for this, but they are going to watch the replay. I'm going to DM them and let them know to watch the replay too, because I think we gave a lot of great feedback on this. With that being said, that was the only questions. We can move on to The Mountain's Call by Stoic, aka Shane Garrick. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's Shane Garrick, aka Stoic, but he calls himself Stoic. So
I haven't met him yet, but this person lives where I live, so this is a bit of a friend of mine.
Awesome. Cool. He's only been in the space for 3 months, but he's very, very active and very, very kind and really, really cool guy. And he's been in the AMA before, and has had a collection that really needed to be called down. And it didn't have as good of work as he's showing now. And so he took a lot from the AMA, and he's vulnerable and putting his stuff out here again. So I'm a fan of Stoic. So let's take a look. So the mountain calls. That's Stoic the photographer. So collection only has 2 right now. There's no banner. I would definitely use a banner on Foundation. Foundation provides a beautiful website-like experience, so use that to your advantage. The banner can be really beautiful on Foundation. Find out what their dimensions, the specs are for their dimensions, resolution, and just put something out that will look nice there, or find somebody who's good at that in the space. Network with someone who can help you with that type of stuff. And then also missing the introductory image, which could probably be pretty cool. Maybe this image here at West. Missing the description also though. So those are the things that I'd work on right off the bat. Let me see a Stoic here.
No.
He's not here. He'll be listening after. I know he will listen. So and there's no description. So the description here on Foundation is basically the artist statement. You could either write about what the work is about as a whole, or you could write about yourself and who you are and where you're from and why you like to photograph this type of stuff. But like, as a collector, I want to know a little bit about the person that I'm collecting from. Like, I want to know about you. I want to know, where are you from? Why are you shooting this type of stuff? And he does go on to explain some of that in the individual images, but in an artist statement, it's good to have that. So if we look here, it says the floor price is 0.1, but we're looking here at, I believe, buy it now is at 0.35 and 0.99.
Is there a reserve on them?
There are. So we're going to get to the reserve. The reserve jumps them down from 0.35 to 0.1 and from 0.99 to 0.75. It's quite a jump in price.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense, and I think it will only harm you moving forward, because it just doesn't make sense. It's so varied. I would look at it and I'd be like, why is this one 0.99 ETH and why is this one 0.35? Like, there's just such a big gap in these two pieces.
Yeah, I think he really likes this piece, but at the same time, I think that I don't think Stoic's really sold out a lot yet in the space. I mean, because he came in during the bear market, which is unfortunate, but he's doing really, really well at building community. But I still think that maybe it's a good idea to just start your pieces at 0.35 each. Even if you like this one better, it's just like, get that sale, right? Get that sale. That sale brings in retweets, and you could talk about the sale, and you have a new collector. It all builds momentum. I mean, my first pieces I sold for 0.2, in my Genesis collection, because I came into the space and I thought, oh man, these Bored Apes are selling for like 80 ETH. Like my stuff should be worth like 10 ETH or something. And I had no idea. And I had some mentors in the space that were like, it doesn't really work like that. Most of the great photographers in the space now who sell their work for a lot still started off with a collection that started with a low amount and built up to that. You build up that demand and that community and the people that trust you. You build that through consistency and helping others, and just building trust within the community, and so that takes time. And so I agree with the pricing thing. I would price them probably the same across the board. Anyway, let's go in and take a look. Dawn/Dusk.
One more thing about the pricing.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, everybody can price their work whatever they want to, and that's fine. But sometimes your decisions may harm you, and you don't actually realize that they are. I do find it's a good idea to come in and just look at your peers, look at people that are maybe established landscape photographers who have sold quite a bit of work. I can guarantee they're not selling their individual one-of-ones for 1 ETH. And if they are, these are people who in our industry are like the elite. they've spent years and years and years to get to that level. It just takes time to get there. And I think every photographer, artist needs to have an honest conversation with themselves about pricing when they enter here. I have been a landscape photographer for 12 years and I don't even sell my work at that, especially in a collection. I started low when I came into the space and slowly built it up. So it's more like sometimes we have to take those steps backwards to get ahead. I know exactly what Mike was talking about when it's like we come into the space, we see all of our friends selling their work for these high crazy amounts. It's just not reality. As much as it like look at it more as inspiration to what you could potentially reach rather than where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as great as we may be, people still want to know that we deserve it, and that deserving of it comes with being in the space for a certain amount of time, and contributing, adding value. And there's a lot that goes into it, and I know Stoic is learning all that stuff right now because he's highly immersed in all the chat spaces and everything too. So yeah, it's just great feedback, Sarah. Thank you. With that said, let's take a read on the description. So I think the descriptions are good on these. No artist statement, description. So have you ever stopped to watch the sun rise or set? I find it very magical to watch the sun and just watch the sky. Uh, it is especially beautiful when the sun hits mountain peaks. When you see this image, what do you think first, dawn or dusk? There's a psychology behind this question, just like people who see the glass as half full or half empty. It's all up to you how to interpret it. By doing so, it opens us up without making us vulnerable, in that we don't know if we are truly positive or negative. However, meanings and perspectives can change at any time. It is therefore a valid question to ask. Can it also be both or neither? If you collect this piece, I hope you will look at it every now and then and ask dawn or dusk. Take a moment to reflect upon the answer and how you're feeling. We underestimate how well our minds know us. For the most part, I think it's a pretty interesting description. I think it's dusk, but could be wrong. What do you think it is, Sarah?
Can
Is
you
it dawn?
is it
Is it dawn or dusk?
I would know this because, Kate, believe it or not, this is actually like maybe a 5-minute walk from my house. I think that
Oh, you
this,
know where this is?
yeah, this
That's
is where I
that's
live.
awesome.
Me
Oh
and him live
wow.
same place. This is all, I probably live closer to this spot than I think that for him this is about an hour drive. So he's actually is right about my house. In the wintertime, I rarely actually shoot in this area. I believe that that is a sunrise.
Ooh, so I was wrong. It has, I guess it has a dusk feel to me because of the edit on it.
Well, because it's looking south, the way that he's shooting
Mm,
southeast. So the sun,
yeah.
maybe it's, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I gotta go photograph there more often. I don't photograph here because it's too popular of an area for landscape photography, so I typically avoid it.
Because is that because a lot of the same types of photographs are made?
Yes. Tourists. I've seen that mountain range so many times.
So
Yeah,
so maybe you need to challenge yourself to make it in a completely different way than it's ever been made.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the image goes, I mean, I've looked at his past collections where he posted landscape work, and this is a huge step up for me in the work that he's created. I do enjoy that there is somewhat of a leading line that kind of brings you into the area of the mountain range that's back here. I do like the sky that's going on. Um, but I wonder if there's a bit too much foreground. Like, is the foreground in this shot as important as the midground and background? What about the vantage point? Would you have shot it from a little bit higher up to see more of the mountains? Like, how, as a landscape photographer, like I feel like you're definitely more qualified to speak on this than me, because I don't know exactly how to create the perfect compositions for landscape work.
Well, the snow, like just because I know and I can tell in the image that it's also a trail that has been walked on, or like a patch or an area that people frequently go. So the foreground is a little bit too messy for my liking. And I will say, now looking at the image more and like just thinking of where the sun sets where I live, this is a sunset. So, which is confusing, and I'll say this with editing and how photographers sometimes manipulate images, is that the sun is actually likely setting more to the right of the frame, but where it's like really bright just above that one mountain peak, it does make it look like
Over
the
here.
sun is right. You think the sun is
It
setting,
looks like a rise. Yeah. Look,
but it
I
doesn't.
thought it was dusk, but you said it looks like a rise, the sunrise. You're saying?
It's sunset. It's sunset.
Yeah, yeah. So it is dusk then, but it made you feel like it was like a sunrise because of how this
No,
looked.
yeah, I can't tell
Yeah.
because of that there, and also I'm trying to like think of my own. Like
Mhm.
I should know this exactly where the sun sets where I live. You can just see the light coming from the right, like how it's illuminating those clouds. So it's definitely a sunset because that's happening in the west. But
Cool.
yes,
And
as per composition for me, yeah, the foreground is a little bit messy in here, and we have the beautiful Three Sisters mountain range in the background. So I do know of other so I have to give him some props because I know that he's trying to stay away from the main place where everybody photographs, which is this little river, but the river would
mhm.
have been a more pleasing composition if there was open water. You could have got the reflection.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, props for not going to take the same landscape that all the tourists are taking, I guess, and sitting back here. I do think it's a pretty pleasing image. I do like it. I do agree with some of what you said. Sometimes with like color temperature, I don't like. I try to be true to life with my own images, but sometimes I don't know if I like things to be more blue because like snow is white, right? But it's very blue in this. Like do you think if the color temperature was maybe not brought to a pure white, but like less blue than this, that it would I think that it could make the image better and more dynamic because we already have a lot of blue in the sky.
Yeah.
So if we punched up like the whites and brought the blues down a bit in the snow, I think that could make for a stronger piece too.
Yeah. And also that mountain range, like with the three mountains, is massive. Like it's huge. It's such a big mountain range. So this image doesn't like it
It
just
makes it
does.
look tiny, right? Because
Yeah,
of
it's
the
the
wide
wide angle.
angle. Yeah.
So it's like it is all about like yeah, those mountains are beautiful, and the light that is hitting them is really really nice. So I do feel you could have focused more on that.
Well, supposedly he has this in his backyard, was what he says. So he can get out and just shoot every possible angle of this at all different types of lighting and shoot us over some images. And I'd love to see what else he creates in this area. So cool.
Actually, that mountain range is actually one of we all know her, a very well-known landscape photographer, but that mountain range with a reflection is Rach Stewart's super rare piece currently.
I have to go check it out, but I do
Yeah,
like
and then
Rich
you'll look,
Stewart's work a
you'll see it,
lot.
and you'll be like, "Oh, those are those mountains." It's a really,
Because it's
it's
going to look a lot more colossal because it's close up, right?
yeah, oh yeah, and she photographed it like just a little bit up from my house where there was a full like lake reflection. I just know this place so well. It's more my backyard than it actually is his because he's about an hour and 15-minute drive away from here.
Oh,
For me,
yeah.
this is like where I walk Ollie.
Wow. So, but you don't know Stoic in person?
Not
You
yet. We're gonna meet though. We are.
That's
It's all
cool. So yeah,
casual.
so maybe you could mentor in some sense and show some stuff since you know. I
Yeah.
mean, I would love to just sit down with like a really good landscape photographer and just like figure out like what I'm doing wrong when I go and shoot landscapes. Like it's interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I've shot some good ones, but just not like epic ones. And I don't it's probably a lot of it has to do with the conditions, but then I also know it has a lot to do with like how you line up things, you know, how you line up the composition, right? You know,
Definitely.
yeah. I feel like you
Oh,
can learn a lot just hanging out with someone.
the title is Dawn Dusk. I just saw the title just now.
Yeah, dawn dusk. Yeah, he's asking if it's dawn or dusk. He wants us to figure that out.
dusk.
Head west. I'm more intrigued by this image. This image to me, I find it to be really, really nostalgic. I do love that he's made sort of a daring composition with this and made this frame within a frame. And then we got this kind of like little frame on this side and little frame over here. Um, I do like how it's weighted as well. The only thing that, my eyes want to keep going up to this blown highlight area.
The white?
Um, the
Yes.
white's up top. Yeah, I mean, the white is as white as over here in the foundation borders. And so I feel like, as a street photographer, I could get away with a little bit more of blown out stuff because like my shooting is like run and gun, and sometimes I can't help it. But I know that when I've gone and shot landscape, I mean, you've got time with these scenes. Especially, this is not a scene where you're running out of time with like a sunset or something like that. So in this case, like I would have done bracketed exposures. I would have tried this shot underexposed. I would have exposed for the highlights. I would have exposed for, I would have exposed for different things. But that's technical. I mean, outside of that, I do really like this image. It's got a nostalgic feel for me. It makes me want to be out west or something. And yeah, I do enjoy it. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you, Sarah.
Good. There's definitely a lot more creativity with this one, but yes, the sky, but like is starting to it's so blowing out that it's the same white as just like as the white background. So it's not even just like a bright part of the image. It is completely blowing out, as in no more pixels left to work with. So you could, I think how you could have avoided this was underexposing when you photographed it, and then you would have had detail like to work with in that little patch of the sky. Or you could pull back, like take many more steps backwards. And I don't know what lens you were shooting this with, but if you were using a telephoto, you could compress it even more so that it would the top bit wouldn't be in the frame. It would just be more the mountain range and the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled back. And like the more you pull back and the more you compress, so you're really only focusing on that mountain range, the bigger that mountain range is going to be. And you're going to pull it closer to the people. So just like for me, this image is all about just a few slight tweaks in where you were standing photographing it. But the sky is a little bit too, it's a bit too much. And it's unfortunate because you can't really crop it because the way the fence goes, like you
Yeah,
can't.
it'll cut this part off, which is kind of important here. We need it,
Yeah. So but again, I think that this one is like really just great with how you're trying to be creative and think outside of the box with different composition.
Absolutely. So I guess the lesson here is like, with landscape, you have that time to get the exposure right, so try different exposures. A lot of times with digital cameras, underexposing is much better than overexposing. Exposing for the highlights is gonna be better than exposing for the shadows. So and I try to do some bracketed stuff too, and get all the different exposures, and you could combine and create HDR without it looking too crazy if you do it correctly. But I don't think that's even needed in this case, especially a lot with these new cameras. Like I don't even know that you need any HDR stuff, but I would have just exposed for the highlights and pulled up those shadows. Or like Sarah said, the other lesson is trying different perspectives, different lenses, getting closer, different telephoto lenses and stuff. So yeah, let's take a look at the description on this one. Head west. The Rocky Mountains of Canada, a sight to behold. From my hometown, the mountains are in my backyard, always there. To me, this image captures a feeling of wanting to break out of my town and head west to the Rockies. I never appreciated them growing up, but now I see just how amazing and lucky I am to be near them. If you collect this, I hope you find the same desire to see them like I do. Just head west. That's good. I like that description. It's a good description, right? All right.
And then just I don't know. Oh yeah, I think you can still add like cover photo and like a little profile picture and all that just to complete this. I feel like
Yeah.
trying to sell something that's not complete. And that's only going to just kind of hold you back, especially if you want to reach those prices, like 1 ETH. You really need to present the best. Like you're like just leave nothing out. And obviously these sessions will help you learn that what you need to add, but don't try to sell something that's not complete.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at the provenance of this, and it's like in the same day on January 1st, it was like 0.50, then on the same day 0.75, and the same day 0.99. So it's like, yeah, I wonder what led to in the same day wanting to change the price 3 times.
It's within
Then-
it's within a minute.
yeah, within a minute. That's strange. I don't know why that happens, but
Just
okay.
I just maybe just like lack of just I don't know, just
Not
uncertain. It just
un
seems not
uncertainty. Yeah.
sure about what you're doing. And if you're not sure about what you're doing, someone that's coming to collect is going to not be sure about what you're doing.
Absolutely, because I look at this stuff. I look at provenance like this, and I would say, why am I spending this much if I can spend? Why am I spending 0.99 if I can spend 0.50? It's almost like I know that he'll take 0.50, so I would probably just DM him and be like, I want it for 0.50. Would you be interested if I made an offer? Or I would just make an offer for 0.50. But that
A
stuff,
mistake is a mistake.
yeah.
Like sometimes I have made a mistake with listing on Foundation. I meant to put 0.85 ETH and I accidentally put 85 ETH. So I had to change it, obviously,
Yeah.
because I saw it.
Yeah.
But I feel like anybody looking at that would be like, oh, I totally understand. That piece ended up.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, that was the most embarrassing thing that I've ever done here. I never promoted that piece. Just like I didn't want to burn it, but I never promoted it because I was so embarrassed.
Just of the provenance of it. A lot of people
Yeah,
don't
and I
even
was
look
like,
at
oh,
that.
I was like, oh, but I also thought that I could just add that into the story of like minting it. But anyways, that piece ended up selling, so it's
Yeah,
rid of the
that's
mistake.
that's awesome. Let's see if they had questions. Okay. How are my descriptions too wordy or not enough detail? I don't know. I thought the descriptions were pretty good. What about you? There's no order statement though.
I noticed though, like, are we still doing like? I mean, maybe look into it for yourself if this is something you want. Look into image licensing, and like I always put a little artist statement in each description because I just think it's like a nice added touch, kind of like when someone
Yeah,
buys
the
something.
license in there too is is
Yeah,
is is a good one, right?
like
Especially if you don't have the property for it.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's
that
cool.
is something to think about. Just definitely look into image licensing, and Sloika is the best example of different options of image licensing. It just gets you thinking about what's happening in your images after. Like, if you don't have anything on there, then the collector could do whatever they want with it. So, just something to think about.
That is true. And the second question was, should I maintain a specific tone in my images, or am I good with just keeping mountains as the focus, regardless of tones and colors? I think tones and colors are important in a consistency. Like, what do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that will also like tell what your style is. As you improve with photography, I'm just going to be honest. Mostly for like these AMA sessions for me are the main thing that I see is improvement on the photography. So as you evolve, as you keep shooting, you're going to develop your own style and you're going to gravitate towards like the same coloring in all of your images. So yes, I think it's very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. It's either that or it's just a curation thing. Sometimes people have really, really outstanding images and they just have them in a saturated a feed of too many images that don't allow the ones to shine is a big thing that I've noticed. But also just a lot of people missing the properties idea, the licensing ideas, the hitting the descriptions, getting the banner, like in this one, like no banner. Just using all the resources you have to make something look and feel complete. When
Yeah.
something looks and feels complete, it's going to make the collectors not want to skip your collection. It's like when you apply for jobs or whatnot, or you apply for jobs and you add your website or whatever it is, your resume or your website, and they go to your website and your website's annoying to use. It probably is just or it's just incomplete. They probably just skip you and they move right on to the next candidate. Or if your resume is not doesn't have all the details and it doesn't look clean, they'd probably just skip it and move on to the next one because there's just so many. There's
Yeah.
just so many collections that we can look at that it's like, have it beautiful and complete and raise your odds of being collected. I think that's a big point. So
Yeah, you
cool.
have a lot of time. Like, obviously, you're so new, so this is just a time for you to be learning. But I think this should apply to everybody, and everybody needs to understand that maybe last year or the year before, when everything was really new and just kicking off, I saw some of my friends come in here and without any photography experience go and sell an image for 5 ETH. I don't feel that we live in those times anymore. So it's just put your best foot forward. Don't whatever happened last year is done. Now is like, you got to be real, you got to be professional, put your best stuff out.
Yeah, it's so true. I've been looking at a lot of old collections and seeing some things like that happen and thinking like being jealous in the sense that like, oh my gosh, that era has passed.
Era
But
is over.
yeah.
And the people that have stuck like in the last year, people who have just stuck around just to learn, like they're just going to skyrocket ahead though, in my opinion. So take this opportunity. It's one thing just to kind of bounce in on a little bit of luck and timing, but it's a completely other thing to actually show up as like a professional photographer.
To build and be prepared, yeah, for sure. So they had one last question. Am I heading in the right direction with this collection? What amount would you recommend with a collection that is being built year round? Does that mean what amount of images? Any constructive criticism is welcome, or anything you'd like to see from me in my upcoming work. I mean, I think it's in the right direction as far as it's landscape. Your editing seems pretty cohesive. We'll just work on some of those things that we talked about, like exposure, stuff like that, trying different angles and such. I don't. What amount do you recommend with a collection? I mean, I think you're doing it right by just like less is more right now, like adding less images over time. Like I don't know, a collection could be great at 5 images. It could be great at 10, and a collection could also be great at 100. It just depends on like, are those 100 images cohesive? Are they all great? It depends how it's curated. So I don't really have a great answer for that. But do you, Sarah?
I agree with everything that you just said. Honestly, I fully agree with it. You
Yeah.
nailed
So it's just, yeah, you got to know your demands too, right? So it's like, yeah. So I mean, I think putting out less right now, like less pieces, maybe more than 2. Maybe you can get 3 or 4 in there. 4 looks kind of nice on foundation, and just start from there. Like,
Yeah. The smallest collection I put out was 4.
I like 4. So
Yeah.
on foundation, especially. Cool. We can go on to the next collection. It's Taj. And it's Taj Mahal, right? Taj, an epitome of love, and this is by Bipradev Roy. And so I'm going to read the questions first and switch up a little bit on this one. I'm unable to manage collectors for this open edition. What should I do? This is really important. We talked a lot about open editions the other day and the space. I didn't talk. I just did a lot of listening and taking in knowledge from smarter people in the room. So we'll talk a bit about that. And how is this photo? Okay, so let's see. So first of all, unable to manage collections. Let's take a look at this first. So I'm going to read the description here. It's quite long. Earlier, Shah Jahan and Mumtaz looked at the moon and wondered how beautiful the moon is. Now the moon looks at the Taj Mahal and wonders how beautiful was love that Mumtaz and Shah Jahan used to share. Why is Taj the symbol of love? Because of all those white marbles or the fine design inside, the architecture? I don't believe so. It's just that the expression of one's underlying love for another being can be expressed so beautifully. When you look at the Taj Mahal, your heart can feel what Shah Jahan felt for Mumtaz. It might remind you of your beloved. when you look at the moon, you can never think about the ugliness of the world. In the same way, when you look at the Taj, you can never think about the hatred around you. I believe this makes it a symbol of love. And then there's information about the actual Taj. So yeah, this is just so yeah. I'm not going to go in and read all this, but it's just kind of like a history of the Taj Mahal. It's an open edition. I'm just gonna reload this. Maybe more were minted. There were 6 minted, but then I saw 7 minted
9
today.
days.
Yeah, there's 9 days left. But when did it start? 1/6. So it's been open for 6 days. There's only been 7 minted. So he's generated 0.07, which is not much. 0.07 is less than what you'd sell a 1 of 1 for. 9 days left, so you do have some time. But I think before we even talk about the photograph, unable to manage collectors for this open edition, what should I do? So first of all, you need to kind of you need to have an idea of like what your demand is, right? Because with an open edition, it's all about demand for the piece. And so that's a fear with a lot of people putting out an open edition, is that like, what if no one buys it? If no one buys it, it's actually better than if one person buys it. If no one buys it, it means you still have the image and you can make believe it never happened. If one person buys it, it means that they got your 1 of 1 for 0.01 ETH. So that is a huge risk, because if someone could buy one of your open editions, and let's say you make your open editions like your best pieces that you would sell on a platform like Super Rare or something, or wherever it might be. Yeah, I mean, if someone saw that your open edition sold a 1 of 1 and it's equal to the pieces that you're trying to sell somewhere else for 0.01 ETH, that would be very hard to garnish 1 ETH from that, because like, how many times does 0.01 go into 1 ETH? Like, that's like, I don't remember the math off the top of my head. It's like 20 times or something, but or even more than that. My math is bad right now, but either way, you can get hurt from doing an open edition if you don't have demand. So this situation right now is not as bad as what we're talking about. It's not that bad, actually, 0.07, and you still have 9 days left. But I think it's important to know the demand, right? To know your demand and your engagement, and maybe reach out to people beforehand. What do you think, Sarah?
Okay, well, I don't think we are not going to spend any time talking about the description of this, the image, or anything. We both know Bipra probably quite well, so this has nothing to do with any of that. It's just probably a hard lesson that a lot of people have had to learn throughout this open edition shenanigans that's been going on. So there's someone like, let's say, Kath Simard. If she went out and did an open edition, of course, it's just wild, crazy. But like, that does not apply to people who are not Kath Simard yet. So I think what has happened, Bipra, is that everybody, like all of these well-known people, I'm not going to use Kath as an example anymore, but other well-known artists who have done an open edition go on Twitter and they tweet about how great it is, and obviously it is for them, but they may not understand the influence that they are having on artists who are much lesser known. So that artist sees it and is like, oh, I'm going to go and do the same thing, and then they're left with these results of not really selling much of their open edition, and obviously left feeling like, I regret doing this, or why did I do this? So this has happened to so many people, so you're definitely not the only one.
Yeah.
I suggest honestly, what I would do if I was in this situation, I would try to get to 10 mints just to make it that nice number of 10, and I would shut it down. I would try very hard to get to that. I don't know if you're open to doing that, but I just think 10 is a nice number, and then close it. And those people,
what's the idea of closing it at 10? He makes 0.1, which is not a totally bad way to sell it 1 of 1. But if he has more days left, why would you stop at 10? What's the idea behind it?
I would get to 10, and then I would try to, I don't know if this would work, but I would try to like transition it into a limited edition of 10. I don't know if that's possible. So then at least it's like, it's just a limited edition. There's 10 people in it, and you know what? You're going to be awesome. And in 1 year's time, you're going to be just killing it, and your demand is going to be much more. And those 10 people that bought into this edition, they're going to be rewarded because they jumped in on it before anybody really knows exactly like what your name is. You're just not there yet. And this is the case for the majority of artists in this space. We are not at super duper famous open edition level yet. And I don't know why, but it has taken so long for that message to really be delivered. And that was done so beautifully in that 4-hour space, unfortunately, a 4-hour space where Alpha was in, and he basically told everybody this is how it is. And it's so true. So that's what I would do. I tried to turn it into a limited edition and just get it to 10.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's the part. I think that's where it's a bit damaging to say, let artists do whatever the F they want, because some artists don't know how to handle that information. That information is not for all artists. That's the thing. There has to be some sort of like caveat to that. Like, it's not just, you know, just let artists do whatever they want. If they want to do open edition, let them do an open edition. Like, no, maybe we shouldn't. Like, of course they could do that. They're allowed to do that. No one's going to go to their computer and stop them. But like, maybe people that understand the way that this works can educate a bit in a way and say, understand your demand and stuff like that. Like you said, like there's, I don't know, probably 20 photographers that made 90% of the ETH in the space in 2022. I saw some statistic. I don't know if that's exactly it, but it's like, yeah, some of those artists like Guido has massive demand. If he puts out an open edition right now, dude's probably going to make 7 to 10 ETH off of an open edition. Like, it's just not the case for just a lot of us. Like, I can't do that. Many people can't do that. It's just, yeah, that's just it. So it's like, while it feels like good advice to tell people to let artists do whatever the F they want, and I think there is some truth in that. I think there really is, because it is a bit annoying sometimes. But at the same time, that's not black and white at all. When we have people that are much further along than others in this space, and people that that come into the space brand new and they don't know what to do, and they'll just do it, and then they could be harmed by it in the future. So yeah, I think that's.
Check in with Manifold and just see what you're up, because Manifold is the most flexible platform in terms of changes. Just see if you can change this open edition to a limited one.
Great point.
I feel for the future that's a better move for you to limit it.
I agree. And I think it's a great advice, because you could even possibly reach out to Richard if you can't get in touch with the Manifold team. But the best way is probably go on their Discord, and just make a question inside the general channel with one of the channels that relate to this, and say, hey, I have an open edition. I'm trying to just reach 10 minted, and I want it to be a limited edition. I don't want this open edition thing anymore. And if they don't already have something in place, maybe they'll work with you to put something in place, So.
And then I did see it in the chat. I think it was Beepra, the same fella. He had said something, I regret minting because it's such a special image, but I do believe if you are near the Taj Mahal and it's such a well-known location, you're going to have so many opportunities to make an even better image. So don't feel like too bad about that, like using an image that was really special for this kind of learning curve.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you live in the area, I was talking to my girlfriend right before this, was looking at this image, and I was like, man, I want to go to the Taj Mahal and stay there for a week and just kind of photograph this place from different angles, try to make some different stuff. It's such a beautiful place.
Yeah, it does.
Jeez.
And don't feel bad. Like, just don't feel bad about this open edition, because you are not alone. There's so many people in the same, and it's just like a learning curve. It is, it just sometimes it takes something. Sometimes it just takes somebody like Alpha Trilogy to make things click. And he did that for so many people in that space. It was so good how he explained things. I highly recommend giving that open edition John Knopf, whoever else was in it, that space. Give it a listen. It's 4 hours long, but it's worth it.
No, that space was amazing. I mean, I've listened to like the first 2 hours, and I can only listen to a little bit of the last one. But I'm gonna re-listen to the whole thing. But yeah, awesome, cool, Bpro. I don't think this is a make or break for you in your artistic career at all. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's a beautiful image. You gave some great advice on this. Reach out and try to get that limited if you can. With that being said, we'll move on to Spectre. Spectre series by Carlos Flores. And Spectre series is on OpenSea, and it was created in February 2022, so it was like about 11 months ago. So the existence of life after death is unknown. We all question ourselves, what does the afterlife look like? Do angels and demons dwell in this unrevealed dimension? This is a collection of the artist's vision of the supernatural world. Artist Carlo Flores, and he says one of one black and white images. And so the floor price is 0.03. Are they all sold out? No. I don't think this one has this sold. No, this is the only one that has not sold. These are cheap for one of ones. Wow. Yeah, 0.04. And some of them are being resold for 0.0. This one's being sold for 0.03. Owned by Tim Russell. I haven't seen Tim in a while. So yeah, let's take a. They don't have any specific questions at all. So the banner's very interesting. I got the link to the Twitter. If you have any other links, it's cool to put in here, like Instagram and stuff. It's cool that you got your royalties of 10%. I guess you were grandfathered into that. We know now that there's this war against royalties. And it looks like the collection is one away from being sold out. Congratulations on that, right? That's great. And I really like some of these images. Right? Go ahead, Sarah.
They're all great. I feel like you probably don't really need feedback on this. Like, you're doing awesome. You've sold, yeah, the images are cool, and already saw that you have sold quite a few. I was like, okay, well, this is obviously something that people are interested in.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we should talk about why do we think that they sold and stuff too. I mean, well, it was 11 months ago. The market was a bit better, but at the same time, I think that the images are very cohesive in what his artist statement like speaks about, this kind of sort of like existence of life after death and the unknown. And I do think
the price confuses me a little bit.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the activity of the prices alone. So 0.07, that's a higher price. 0.06 lower, 0.05, 0.03. It's very strange that he's selling these for 0.028. I mean, that's one of my favorite ones, and it's 0.028. Look at that shot.
There's if you can go back. So we have Sub. Pascal is a collector. Swadia is on there as a collector.
Yeah, unknown collector. Yeah, unknown collectors here. Yeah, this is there's a lot of big names in the collection here, and a lot of familiar names as well.
How many pieces are left?
One.
Oh my gosh, you only have one piece.
I actually like the one piece that's left too. It's called the Eye, and it's like you could see this guy in the background with his eye in the shadows. I'm waiting for it to load up here. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And
that's creepy.
Yes, and the women are like mirrored. It's like they're almost a mirror of each other.
That's scary. The person in the back.
Yeah, this is really good. Like, this is really good street. Like, like, that's wild. It's not easy to capture, like, street light and shadow stuff like that. I imagine, this looks like it's taken at night, but this is taken at, like, I'm sure, like, closer to midday or even closer to like sunset hours to get these strong highlights and shadows. And it's just edited in a way that looks really creepy. I think that's a great one of one for 0.04, right? There's 0.04. That's what people are selling their open editions for, right? Some people. So yeah.
There's no way that like you shouldn't be able to move this piece. You just have to be aggressive. Get on there and start marketing it like this is my last piece. Some of these ones sold for this price, and then look at this one. It's a steal of a deal.
Well, what's he doing? I mean, I don't know if I've seen Carlos. Like, I tagged him in this and information. I mean, this you just said this was submitted a long time ago to the.
Okay.
Yeah, this was submitted to the time ago, and so.
Well, you're so close to it being closed out. So yeah, obviously you must be great because the people who have collected from you, those are my friends. And now I'm gonna go ask Swati, be like, hey, who's this person? She's one of your collectors. I'll tell her to help you out and tweet about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're active still.
Okay, that's
because if you look,
tweet.
I mean, pinned tweet doesn't really count, right? That's June 2nd, 2022. I mean, that's almost a year ago. It's like 8 months ago. This one is August 21st, 2022. It's a retweet.
I'm going to say that this person is no longer active. So
yeah, it doesn't look like any longer active. So yeah. But I mean, we could still kind of learn from the collection, right? So it looks like they had a cohesive collection. The prices were really cheap that they were selling the work for, 0.03, right? Really cheap at a time where work was actually moving, which is helpful. And the work is really good. So, they have no questions. Let's look, obviously descriptions are probably not going to be. Back then we weren't doing many of street photography as the description. We weren't really thinking about descriptions. There's no properties. It makes sense. This is 10 or 11 months ago.
Maybe everybody always, some people just have to leave or go do other commitments, and there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe the biggest lesson of this one of all is finish what you start, especially if you're.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, this should be really easy to sell right now when open editions are selling for this price. It's a one of one, and it's the last in the collection. So, yeah, and so, yeah, I guess I don't have anything else about this. I mean, I like the artist statement. I like the prices are really affordable for one of ones. The work is very consistent in how it's pretty creepy and the compositions are great. It's almost like seeing inside the mind of the artist. You can tell all the shots come from this artist. I love their use of slow shutter speed and experimentation. Outside of that, yeah, anything else in this collection? Move on to the next, which is Let's Laugh by Ender Ozel. Let's Laugh. So,
wow.
What are you looking at? The middle one?
Or just as soon as it popped up, just all these faces.
Yeah. So Let's Laugh. It was created May 2022. Creator earnings, though, I don't understand why they're 2.5%. That's well before May 22 is well before OpenSea did anything with royalties. I mean, I would definitely take my royalties higher to 10%. So let's read the description. It does not end with describing the benefits of laughing. Laughing prolongs lifespan. Laughing is the most effective detox. Laughter protects the heart. Laughing is contagious. So let's all laugh together. Collection name, Let's Laugh. Edition. These are editions of one. Enjoy watching. And then a little bit about Ender. Who is Ender Ozel? Ender Ozel received his master from Trakya University Finance in 2019. Many national and international awards are won in photography. He's been a member of Turkish Photographic Art Federation, Photography Art Association for 10 years. He has signed many projects in the field of photography. So no sales, a floor price 0.05. Once again, really low prices on one of ones. I wonder if people are doing that because the market is the way it is. First, look at the collection. Okay, it is about joy and it's about laughs, but I'm just to be completely fair and honest. If I saw this and it was at an exhibition that's about like laughter and happiness, I would honestly think this came from 4 different photographers. It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't feel, I don't feel like a cohesive style in the photography from this artist, and maybe that's because like this is a portrait, this is an environmental portrait, um, this is like more of like a documentary shot of like a festival scene, and this is more of a lifestyle photograph at like an amusement park. So um, cohesive in the fact that it's about like happiness and laughter and joy, yes, but is it enough to tie together to feel like a collection that speaks a specific language from an individual artist? To me, no. So that's my biggest feedback on this. So let me let's open them up. Let's look at them like a little bit bigger first. And I don't think they're not good photographs. I think this is a great moment. I think it's a great moment of the father and son, and he's grabbing onto the son. The son's laughing, having a great time, and I love the mother's happiness and looking out towards the other direction, away from them. So I think it's a good shot. Let's take a look at Pink Laughter. Another great shot. They just feel like different genres to me. They feel, even though they're about happiness, they don't feel like they're in the same collection. Like if you had a collection of images, like documentary style stuff, where you can have this many people that don't overlap in a way that hurts my eyes and feels busy, and that has a central subject of this girl laughing, has another subject of this man with the beak, um, and all this atmosphere, quite beautiful. I really like that. Great properties. Artist name, edition. Missing the license though. This comes up a lot. Either those are the 3 important things that I think should be there in properties: is the artist name, the edition, at which you have both, and the other one is the license. And if in like DPI is cool, exposure and stuff like that. Yeah, like the year, the size. I think size is very important. I like to have size in DPI so that my collectors know if they wanted to print it, how big they could print the resolution, and the DPI is good enough for high quality print. But I think the 3 most important aspects are the artist, the edition name, and the license. And most people are missing at least 2. You're only missing 1 in this case, but I would add the license in there. So that looks good. The other photographs are good shots too. They're just like I said, feels a bit like incohesive. Sarah, like, what do you feel about this what I've said in the collection? This shot's not in there too, and it's pretty cool.
I just feel like, it's obviously is your decision, but sometimes I feel like collections like these are better at like a lower price, but more pieces. Just more pieces that feed into that it's about laughter. I don't think it's wrong that they're all kind of like different looking. You just need more ones that actually really tell the feel.
Like 20, like 10 or 20 or something where you can, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But I like the idea of the collection.
Me too.
Well, all the prices are the same, so they're all 0. Yeah, okay, sorry, not lower price. I thought it was 0.5. Don't go lower than that. Don't listen to me. I read it wrong. More, like especially at this price range, more images.
Mm-hmm. And also, link your Twitter in here, because like if I wanted to go check you out as a collector, you don't have your Twitter linked. You have your Instagram, but Twitter's the bridge from Web3. So that's really the one that I think is most important, is to have that Twitter link in there. And to the created in May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. It's created like what, 8 months ago. Has the collection been forgot about, or like is the artist just not talking about this collection anymore? This is Ender, right? Ender Ozell. So I'm gonna take a look real quick. So I have them linked in the jungle one. So I just want to take a quick look here. Why there's no movement. MetaJungle is posting a lot. I'll find it though. It's right here. All right. Cool ender. So right now the pin tweet is about a collection of OpenSea Royal Life in Thrice. So this was also created in the same month, May 2022. It also has no sales at 0.06. And I find this work to actually be in a different league. Yeah, look at the compositions on this work. These are, yeah, I mean, this,
Right.
yeah, I feel like these show a lot more skill and effort than that other collection. It makes more sense. It's like, look at this shot. Go ahead, Sarah. I'm sorry.
Thought these are just great. They're really great images.
Yeah, the other image is really good, but these ones are, I think like even, and now looking at this feels a lot more cohesive. It feels like it's from the same photographer for me.
There's
Right?
more to
Yeah.
it's
True.
like I swear the amount of images can really make or break like the feel of a collection. Something to think about, the amount of images that do go into one. That's a great shot.
Yes, I know, and it's 0.06 for a one of one. Are these one of ones are really 0.06?
Sorry, how
I mean,
old again?
someone has to pick these up. May 2022. So like 9 months or something. More than that. Long time ago. Also, creator earnings are 2.5%. I'm wondering why they went with 2.5%. And I wonder if they were originally listed for this cheap. What do I go? Activity? Let me just click on, let's just look at them both oldest. I know we're looking at a different collection, but sometimes I get a lot of insight from looking at other people's collection, their other collections. All right. Okay, so 0.1 made more sense to me. 0.06, I feel like you're giving away your stuff for too cheap. It doesn't matter the demand. 0.15 too even made more sense 8 months ago. This is a one of one for 0.06. It's really, really nice. Jeez. You're not a favorite this collection. But yeah, I just, let me see, Ender. I'm gonna retweet this.
Do we have left? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I'm moving on to the next now, but we have we only have two. What's that?
I can't stay past 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't even think we'll be 30 minutes more. We're gonna move on right now to Vantropolis by Christian Redemeyer. And I just think that I do just have to get more eyes on the work of Ender because it's really beautiful work for a really great price. So, yeah, we have this, and then we just have an addition. What's that, Sarah?
My last remark on the last collection was going to be more about marketing.
Okay, you want to give that?
Just that that's all, like obviously you got great work. Now just get to work on the other part of selling something, which is marketing.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All right, so Vantropolis So I'll read this quickly. Christian was walking along the streets of the city of Vancouver during a dark and rainy night. He was suddenly inspired when he saw one of the buildings on his way back home. He created the first image of the city skyline from Vancouver and was inspired by the German expressionist science fiction drama film Metropolis, directed by Fritz Lang in 1927 during the creative process. Christian named his fine art project Vantropolis, so I guess a mix between Vancouver and Metropolis, and shows his future vision of Vancouver in a few hundred years. Vantropolis is, in Christian's mind, a safe, clean, and peaceful place on our blue planet. Enjoy Christian's version of Vancouver Vantropolis. Cool. Good to have it on Sloika. Everything's 0.25. It's good to have it on Sloika because we kind of just move through these images here.
These are so good. These are so much more different than like if we I mean, I don't want how do I say this? I don't want to compare this. I realize that these are not like shot in camera sort of creations. But like if you just
Yeah, but like look at this, right?
so good to look at and learn about like highlights and shadows. So that other collection before with the black and white, like look at this sort of body of work. Again, I understand it's not real, it was not in the camera, but you could learn a lot from this, like just using the black and white in a pleasing way, in a pleasing, like just something that looks good for the composition. I love whatever this style of work is. It's beautiful. This is so good.
Yeah, this is cool, right? It's different. It's not AI. It's done, I believe, in
Photoshop
a
manipulate.
Photoshop or something. Yeah, I don't know if he said exactly. Let me see if he said in the doesn't say it here.
Or the balance of black and white, that even though again
Yeah,
camera, there's still thought put into the balance of black and white.
yeah, and it's beautifully abstract and really different. This one doesn't like this one doesn't seem that like far off from reality, like just like the regular picture being taken. I love the symmetry.
Beautiful, really cool creations. And this is like how you can tell someone's developed a style. Like everything, like it's different. There's a lot of different elements to each piece, but it's all looks similar because it's their style. It's what they've
Look at
developed.
look at the pixelated dolphins doing this. So he added pixelation into hyperrealism. Very cool.
Cool.
Very different. I like that one a lot too. And that one seems a lot more like a true to lifestyle. But I love this one.
That's cool.
Wild. Yeah, sky looks really wild. Kind of blends in with the reflections from the lights in the water.
Yeah,
And it
before
has
AI, people were putting these together manually from their brain in Photoshop, like composites.
yeah, and this is really well done. Wow, it's like it looks like a stadium, but this cruise ships. Interesting because these cruise ships, they look like they're reflected in the water. So it's not like it's flipped. It's just completely created. Interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
This is great work.
I love it. Look at this. Wild. Really tripping highways that are like bent and moving up towards the sky. And what's cool is it's not just flipped, right? Because the bottom is different from the top. You know? It's a lot of work's gone into it. Really great. I think that's my favorite one. This one here. It's so surreal. It looks like glass. It looks like it looks like one of those elevators. Not elevators, one of those things at the airport that you stand on and they move. I don't know what they're called. I forgot. It looks like he's like just heading out into just hyperspace. It's really beautiful. So I wonder when yeah, so let me see the descriptions. So Vantropolis, he has the description from the artist statement, but then if we go on, so let's say Silver Moon, this image won a few awards 2019 and 2020 at several prestigious international photography awards, earned a silver award I'd like to know a little bit about the image before the awards. I think that's something that I'd like to hear. I mean, awards are great, but I think it should come second.
Not surprised
What's
you've
that?
won
What's that?
And I'm not surprised you've won awards.
No,
So
me neither.
to
Right?
me, like I obviously have to get to know this person a little bit better in their creations, but to me, this is like so I immediately see like this fantastic body of work, and I think the price is great, but it leaves me feeling like, oh my God, I'm getting these at a steal. And I think that that is such a great plan, such a good position to be in when people are like, oh, like it's a great price, like a really great starting point for your work, but it's also that price point where it's obtainable, and then again it leaves like that collector feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I just got one of these pieces for this price. So
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't have that much more to say about it because it's just so good, but I want to read their questions. So, all right, Antropolis. Overall impression and quality of work, multiple ordering. Yeah, we already talked about that. It's really great. Pricing. How can I find collectors? I'm making efforts on Twitter, Discord, LinkedIn, Facebook. I mean, I don't think you're going to find them on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I'd focus more on Twitter and Discord, and engage with other artists, collectors on a daily basis. Getting everyday great feedback. Sloika did advertise my work as well, and one piece, Harwood Vancouver, was featured during New Year's Eve in Beijing, China, at the Danny DANY. I don't know what that stands for exactly, but 2023 digital. Oh yeah, digital art show, and will be presented again on the 22nd. But still no bites. So which? Let's see which one was Harwood Vancouver. Which one is that one? This Harwood building. Maybe it's Harwood building. I'm not sure. So it's being work as well as one piece Harwood Vancouver. Yeah, I think this is the piece he's talking about was featured. Beautiful piece. I don't know. Let's take a look at their Twitter since it's linked.
Be right too, because it's on Sloika, so Sloika doesn't let you really leave things like image licensing and all of that.
Yeah. Okay, Christian. So, part of it is, I mean, Twitter is the bridge, right? Twitter is the best. Twitter is the best social media platform to be on right now for finding collectors and engaging with a community that collects this stuff. And so, I mean, not to say that followers means anything, but you have 433, and you've started 2019. So you've been around for longer than I have, January 2019. But that doesn't really mean much because you might have just been on Twitter and not engaged in the community with NFTs. But I think presence has a lot to do, at least in the beginning, with getting eyes on your work, selling work, etc. So pin tweet January 2nd, it only has it's said it only has 11 retweets. Um, I'm gonna retweet this now. I hate when that happens, because now you can't see the work. You see this? So this is like where I wouldn't quote tweet a thread. Like, am I doing something wrong when I press quote tweet and I can only see this? Is
So
it because there's
only just retweeting. So actually, quote tweeting, well, it definitely benefits everybody, but quote
not in
tweeting
that case?
more benefits you than it actually does what you're trying to retweet. Retweeting is like a direct link to what you're trying to show other people.
Yeah, I agree with that, except for like if I have influence and I want to say in the quote tweet, like, this is a really brilliant collection that has not been picked up yet at a really affordable price point, it might bring a buy to it rather than just the retweet. So I think in some instances, like, it's not completely black and white, but like in this case, I wouldn't even quote retweet it because like you can't see the images. But like, I'll comment on it.
Do both. Maybe that's the best way forward. Do a quote.
Yeah, I'll do that one after the session.
I don't know why we don't do that. That's probably the best way to go if we are trying to share people's work.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I have talked about doing past doing
And what
both.
time this person tweeted? Do we know?
Uh, So January 2nd is their pin, so it's 10 days ago. 19 hours, I think he retweeted his own tweet. He also retweeted his own tweet. So this is a problem here. Like, is that you don't get engagement by retweeting your own work or posting only your own work. Like, if you start engaging with other artists and reposting their stuff, so like everything you've tweeted here so far has been about you. I'm just being totally honest. If that's like, so this this is retweeted of mine. Thank you very much for that. I would get in the habit more. So drop your NFTs. A lot of these threads are. I mean, I don't know if this guy's legit or not, but a lot of these like share your NFTs looking to buy, I would stay away from. But you just keep retweeting your tweet over and over again, and it's not getting anything. So your issue is with social media engagement right now. So like you need to figure out a way to add value to the community of people that are within the NFT space. Like you could start like an art sharing thread, or just follow the people that you really admire their work and retweet their tweets, and then they'll retweet your tweets, and then you don't have to retweet your tweets, because like anyone who comes to your page and just sees you retweeting your own stuff, it's not a good look. I mean, it's over and over again. Sarah, do you want to elaborate on some of this? Like, this is how this would hurt you.
I really don't want to ever try to make people feel bad about social media because it's so hard. But I agree, if you're just retweeting yourself, you're kind of like a one-man show then walking. So you're like, right now we do have, I don't believe it's always going to be this way, but we do have this huge emphasis on the Twitter community, and it's like we're almost just closed in this little pocket where we read others' work. So maybe take advantage of that and try to be more proactive and involved with sharing other people's stuff, because then it will come back around for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just trying to be completely honest. Yeah, I think that he's an amazing artist, and so I want to see sales on the work, and I think we just legit identified why it's hard for that to happen, and I think it's just because I think you just need more presence within the space, and sometimes what I do too, like, because some I've followed too many people. I'll tell you the truth. If you go to my page, like I'm following 6,486 people, and in the beginning, I followed a lot of people that just followed me. And so if I wasn't following so many people, and I was only following 1,000 people that I really, really loved their work, or who they were, and what they brought to the community, it would be easy for me to just go to my feed and retweet a lot of stuff. Something that I do is sometimes I go to other people that I really respect in this space, and I look at what they're retweeting, and then I begin to I can go through their feed as like a curated feed to find stuff that I like, that I want to retweet or talk about or comment on. So I would do a lot of that. I consider that like spider webbing or something, where you can go to other people's pages. Like you can go to mine right now and you can see that like I've retweeted you, I've retweeted this person. I've just been retweeting a lot of work, and like maybe you like some of this work, and if you retweet some of this work that I've retweeted, then now that person like knows who you are, and you guys can form a connection. Because like Sarah said, if you just retweet your own stuff, you become sort of like a one-man show where no one has eyes on you. So that's definitely the best piece of advice that I could give for this. And so with that, that's and you asked about pricing. Your pricing is great. 0.25 is a great way to start, and your collection is a great collection. So your collection could sell out easily. You just got to build friends within the community, and that's it. And so, you have anything before we go to the last collection? Actually, it's just a last edition, Sarah.
No, I think that this one is great, and I agree with everything you said about the social media part. So it's like so many people in this AMA already can learn from this collection of like how to put something together that is just polished and beautiful, which is awesome if you guys look at this as like inspiration. And then, of course, on this photographer's end, now it's more about the social part of connecting with your coworkers, I guess we could call everybody.
Absolutely. Look at this banner. How beautiful the banner is. So well done.
Yeah, it's really
So such a great use of like their banner and everything. So so last piece here. This is this piece is called, it's actually called, it says yin at the top, but they submitted it as Pseudo Palindrome Genesis Editions by Juicy Julio. And I'll read the questions first this time. Sometimes I like to switch it up. How does the overall feel of the image give to the viewer? Too simple, or is it lacking something? Okay. Would have been more attractive if a less complicated title had been used. Okay. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of agreeing on your questions that it almost sounds like you feel about your own work. So I'll answer the first one. How does overall image feel to the viewer? Is it too simple, or is it lacking something? Well, I do love minimalism. I do love the color gradient. I like how it moves from this like almost yellowish orange to this pink into purplish blue tones. It's a beautiful sunset shot. Though the composition is bothering me a bit. I don't know if it's because like it's a hot air balloon, and maybe you'd want the hot air balloon to be higher in the frame, since hot air balloon is considered to float and be high in the sky, or if I want the hot air balloon to be a lot closer and not so far away. There's a lot of negative space that takes up this frame, and so that's my overall from that question. Go ahead, Sarah.
on that, all of that you said. I think the best way to solve that with this piece is to crop it. So remove negative.
Some of the top, right? Some of the top, maybe if it was cropped in like something like maybe something more like that. I don't know. Does that make more sense?
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, maybe like that. So that was their question. So I think that it feels like it has a lot of negative space, too much negative space, and can be cropped. So if we're just talking about like from like a technical photography standpoint, would it be more attractive and less complicated if it had if the title would have been more attractive if a less complicated title had been used? As far as I know, the title is yin on this, but they submitted this saying the title is Pseudo Palindrome Genesis Editions. That's I don't really know what that means. So I agree with you that it would be more attractive if it didn't have a complicated title. But as far as I know, this says yin. And how do I find like Sarah, do you know how do I see that this is part of some collection? Because maybe I don't think it is. I think it's just part one
I don't really
of
understand.
that.
Okay,
I don't understand.
sorry. It's an open edition, right?
It is. It's a limited edition, but it's 22. 22 is a strange number, but maybe it has significance if we read that there. So
in limited edition.
It's actually doing pretty good though.
Yeah. So you can't change it now.
I mean, 10 of them are already gone at 0.028, and that's really not that bad. Let's see, that's like so. It's 0.028 times 10 is I shouldn't need a calculator for that. That's 0.28 ETH, which is pretty good, especially if you're not selling a lot of one-of-ones right now, especially. I mean, to get 0.28 is pretty good, and at 22 of them, that's over a half of an ETH, right? So. Did you have something to say, Sarah? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
I was just reading the chat. He says it's a 2-part piece, and then the story is explained in his pinned tweet. I don't think it's, I mean, if the people are collecting from you, then they're obviously following along with what you're doing. So then they would understand that this about it being like a two-part series. I've sold like individual editions that were meant to be part of a story, but I bundled them just because it was just easier. I didn't want to sell them in like sections. It was just, yeah, it was just easier for me to just bundle it all together.
Oh yeah, I see. If we're looking at the pin tweet, this is the one we're looking at. It's like a silhouetted, and this is
The other, that one, so now
yeah,
more like the context of what this person's trying to do, it makes the title makes perfect sense. The yin and
the
the
yin and the yang,
oh,
right? Yeah, that's very cool. Um, and I already had retweeted this in the past. Cool. So yeah, let's take a read on it. Real quick. You have 5 minutes left, Rich. Should let me just see if there was a question on this. Oh yeah, we got that. And then does the long description turn viewers away? Let's find out. All right, so part one: Dark Place, Peace, and Repressed. About Genesis series. Something happens once in a lifetime where some of our birthdays become a palindrome, meaning it reads the same forward or backward. So happen this is today, 22 11 22. Okay, so that's why there's 22 editions. Um, with that in mind, I decided to make this a meaningful two-part Genesis mint with the idea of a palindrome, but with a slight duality twist. I like this. I wanted to capture the same subject, but with a contrasting color palette, hence the pseudo element. Despite how clearly opposed they are, they may very well be complementary and interconnected. I'd recommend to read both image descriptions of part one and part two to fully appreciate how both um, are inversely equivalent. The Genesis edition is dedicated to my accidental founded love for photography a little over a year ago, which helped lift my inner self into the skies as we were all going through turbulent times. So why not hop into the basket and join me on this journey where I'll be taking off to a whole new uncharted territory of my mind and how I perceive photography one flight at a time. So about the image is captured above ground up in the partially darkened sky, fully fully thrusting the flying wires that's attached to the basket. Our life is literally suspended by the thread. A single snap could lead to disaster, relating back to our lives. Always remember, once we're up in the sky and whatever we pursue, enjoy the journey and prepare for some downfall, as that is the wave of life. To restore balance in the universe, seek the counter duality part yang. Fun fact, although the warm tones may seem deceptive, I was freezing at negative 10 Celsius, 14 Fahrenheit, capturing this image. Then he has the licensing information. So it's not as long as I thought it was because there's licensing information here. So no, it doesn't bother me. I actually enjoy the read about this and how it's philosophical to the yin and the yang and life and duality. So yeah, I enjoy that. Anything from you, Sarah? Anything else for
putting him in the trap. I said that I was doing, while you were reading it, I was chatting. No, I think
Oh, great.
I honestly think this is a great example of, okay, I could be wrong, but this is how I see the difference of like open editions and limited editions. So because you're choosing to do a limited edition, you have like a marker that you're trying to hit. And once you hit that, it's like it's complete, it's done. And you have this one nice package limited edition that sold out. And that will just like long term, that will look better on your like of your overall image than if you had put out an open edition. And let's just say, I don't know, you maybe didn't sell very much on an open edition, and then once that ends, you have that like it will be with you forever. So people will always be able to look back and be like, oh, they didn't sell very much of their open edition. And we all know what the kind of the opinion on open editions are right now. So I think you just you chose right by going with a limited edition.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that I love the concept of it. So Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes and when the Yang portion comes out. But I mean, it looks like you've got enough supporters to do something. You know, you got 10 out of 22 minted. You know, just keep pushing the narrative. It's good that you're here today, and I'll share your stuff, and anyone in the audience that enjoys it, share Julio's stuff, or anyone from today that you did enjoy.
Sorry, he said the other one is already out. Yang.
Oh, Yang's out. Cool. Yang is out. So click on here. Maybe there's the. I wonder why Yang came out. Isn't that make it more difficult because now you have to manage two limited editions at the same time? This one's 3 of 22.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, I mean, they're both going. Oh, that's the problem.
This came out the same time though. It came out 11, 12, 1. You know, almost 2 months ago.
Right. I mean, you have two running that you need to try and push. It just maybe would have been, better to sell the first one out and then people had something to look forward to for the next one, like to collect the complete series.
It's a good point. That's the way that I would have done it too. Just because it's it's also a slow market. I mean, even if it wasn't a slow market, I would have did it the other way. I just like to know that like what my focus has to be on can remain on that focus and not have to shift focus to something else if it's not competing as well or doing as well. And then just kill that.
Sold as a bundled price. Like so you could have incentivized them to pick up the two, which would have been a lower price. That probably would have been very effective. When I did mine, I did like a little series of 3 or 4 editions, and I purposely sold them all together. So I made a price, like a special price, people if they bought all like the whole set.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it because if people feel incentivized, a lot of time they feel like that's an opportunity that they have to jump on. So it's a good idea to incentivize like that too. But yeah, I mean obviously this one's going really well, Yin. So I mean it's just gonna take patience at this point, especially in this market, and just just keep the running narrative on that, and excited to see what what innovative ideas you come up with in the future to continue with this. Very cool. With that being said, though, I think that about wraps it up because it's the last one. I know you have to head out, Sarah,
Yes.
but I really appreciate the time that you've given us today, and you've had so many great feedbacks. And I think we helped a lot of people here.
POAPs.
POAPs, yeah, POAPs. We got POAPs.
I saw them come out.
I just got it. Yep, I just got him sent in the message.
All right, thank you so much. So yeah, guys, where are they? Is it AMA live chat? No, it's this chat, this feedback AMA open chat.
Yeah.
Cool guys. Yeah, thanks everybody who showed up, and I hope like even if you showed up and your collection wasn't wasn't in the AMA, or if it was, that you were still able to learn something through other people's collections too, because we get to learn as host and co-hosts through just talking about people's collections each and every time we do this. And big ups to MetaJungle for providing an educational space for this to happen, and for Jaden and Goon for keeping all this running and everything that they do. The co-hosts. So thank you guys. That being said, collect your POAPs and apply for next week's AMA, and love to see some new work. Be able to apply shortly. We'll have the message out soon. We'll see you guys. I am out. 3, 2, 1. Bye.